Greetings and salutations. My name is Joe Westfield. I am the creator of the Earth War Saga Galactic War. And welcome to the development log that I will be running at roughly sometime in the first 7 days of every month, explaining what we have done as a playtesting group, any rules changes that we might have done, and in general, just, what's happened and how far we've gotten and how far we're away from actually releasing a actual copy. So this will be the 3rd edition of Galactic War, and in it we have made quite a few changes. First of all, the loss of essentially every critical damage table and simplification of what critical damage is. Movement is simplified, going from just simply having a table for your movement to 1 inch of movement. To change your speed by 1 inch of movement, it is 2 engine power, and that is all. This does kind of hinder those ships that have odd numbers of engine power, but there's other ways to spend it throughout the turn in most cases. It does force you to change, or it forces you to be a little slower in your movements on some ships, such as the Conqueror, which has engine power 3 and turn cost 3. So it's pretty much either turning or accelerating. And it's not accelerating as fast as it used to, but that is offset by how tanky the little bugger is. Armor has also been changed. It's now just simply a dice roll. For instance, the Conqueror has a 2-up save, so you roll a 2 or higher on a d6, you negate the damage. This is a lot simpler from the old system, where it was the Conqueror had 28 armor, and between your armor piercing and your damage, you had to exceed 28 damage. Could be difficult in many cases to actually cause damage to the ship. Now it's still tanky, but it's not as tanky as it used to be. Armor piercing also works differently. Instead of having an armor piercing score of like 12, you will have an armor piercing score of, say, 2. And each point of armor piercing provides a penalty to the enemy armor save. Now, this sounds a lot easier to get by armor, but there's some things that generally do offset it. For instance, the Conqueror used to have an ability called Tough Ship, which ignored AP 1 and 2, and that just proved to be too much. Now it doesn't have that skill anymore. But ships are in general still more survivable than they used to be, because for the most part you have either shields or saves that you can rely upon to prevent damage to your ship. You'll also notice that I said that AP provides a penalty to your armor save instead of a minus. There are situations where a minus would be good or a minus would be bad. In this instance, where it says that it is a penalty, it is actually a plus. So it's raising your score from 2 to 3, for instance, for AP 1. In most cases, you will hear anything referred to as either a bonus or a penalty, because they do switch back and forth as to which direction it means. Penalty obviously is bad. Bonus is obviously good. So you would adjust your score accordingly. Fighter movement has been simplified along with fighter shooting. there's more difference between fighter flights and fighter squadrons. You can't make fighter squadrons on the fly anymore. You only get fighter squadrons from carriers. So there's a reason to take carriers, because fighter squadrons are obviously going to be a lot easier to punch through enemy defenses than, say, a fighter flight, which is now referred to as a token and is deployed via use of fighter pips, which ships either do or do not have. And each fighter pip is a fighter token that you can deploy at the end of your turn behind the ship in question. They also have to stay within 12 inches of a ship with fighter pips. They do have a lot of movement, so they can catch up to the ships when they move, because fighter pips still, or fighter tokens still move after ships do. You can pay more fighter pips to launch other types of fighters than space superiority fighters now. So you can have, like for instance, the Vancouver, which has 4 fighter pips. It can launch a space superiority fighter and a strike fighter. Or it can launch 2 assault fighters, or a combination thereof. Missile strikes are simplified as well. They didn't really need too much simplifying. It's just for a matter of panic fire. You only get 1 set of panic fire rolls, and this will reduce the number from the total number of missiles attacking the ship. Only missiles that attack the ship can be targeted by panic fire still. So if none hit, you don't have to roll panic fire. Evasion has been added to give faster ships some degree of actual safety. And basically, evasion is a dodge. Once you've scored a hit with a weapon, if the ship has evasion, you get to roll based on that evasion score that it has. If it rolls the evasion or higher, you dodge the shot, and it does not proceed to armor or shields. Evasion is calculated 1 for every, a bonus of 1 for every 4 inches of movement that a ship is moving, or through terrain like dust clouds. They provide evasion scores. Core rules are going to be free to download in this edition. You will be able to get the entirety of the core rules and 1 download on Wargame Vault, and you won't have to pay for it. What will be costing will be the fleet books. Also, I'm going sort of for a miniatures agnostic sort of deal. I will have ships of my own, as you can see here, and my shaking hands are making it hard to see this poor conqueror. But you will basically have the ability to build your own ships based on the rule set for one of the fleets. You will not be able to create custom fleets, because that just gets a little messy. And I may include the custom rules later down the road after the game has been solid for a while. But for now, we're just not going to do custom fleets in their entirety. You can just put them into whatever fleet that you feel they fit best in and arm them appropriately. There are possibility of ship cards also becoming a thing. That's kind of up in the air at the moment. It's hard to keep everything 100% matched between the rulebook and the ship card when I'm doing all the work. I would like to have them on some sort of printed card that is you can use a dry erase marker on, for instance, and keep track of everything that's going on your ship instead of a piece of paper that you just have loosely floating around the table. The Miniatures Tavern is going to be printing the 3D prints of all of the ships. The goal is to have 8 fleets total before the game is released. That way I have a buffer for creating fleets. But beyond that, we'll be releasing one every 3 months beyond the first two, which will be the Acorn Empire and the Third Fleet. Not the entire UNE. That will come in a later fleet book. That requires a little bit more work because it's got the 4 alliances in there, plus the combined forces fleets, and yeah. But the Third Fleet will remain valid throughout the entirety of the edition. It just will have a select few of the ships that are going to be in the UNE fleet book. I already have plans for that book. That book is definitely near and dear to my heart. I love the UNE as it's, well, my hero fleet. It's my hero fleet is the Third Fleet. They're the object of the novel, and they're the focus of much of the lore. What we've accomplished this month, well, we've assembled the first playtest team. We're working on assembling a second. We playtested the core rules as the main focus for this last month. Successful working out movement, successfully simplified shooting. 6 game turn is down to about 3 hours right now. There will be probably some more work later to try and trim that down even more, because there's not a lot of people want to dedicate more than 3 hours to a game, and that's to a game without fighters. Still sort of working out fighter attacks, but it seems to be going along well. Creation of STLs has been successful for the Albion, the Alpha, the New Jersey, the Espana, the Tirpitz, the Vikrant, and the Unicorn. So essentially the entire capital ship force of the UNE Third Fleet is ready to go. Again, let's actually hold this up by the stern instead of... My hands unfortunately shake quite a bit, but you can see there's quite a bit of work been done. Initially, we were going to just use blank 60 millimeter, 40 millimeter, 32 millimeter, and 28 millimeter. And this is my cat, Wisp. I was kind of hoping the open window would distract her thoroughly, but apparently not. But it's proven impractical, seeing as the Miniatures Tavern is in Florida. She wants to be on camera. Miniatures Tavern's in Florida, and the best place to get bases per base is in China, and the tariffs make it extremely impractical to do so. Even though it's really not that big of a price per base, I think it's 35 or 50 per base on a 1,000 base order. But the problem is that we'd have to wait for it to come from China to Florida, which could take 3-4 weeks, especially when it has to clear customs. And it's more practical just to make our own bases, which I have done. And as you can see here, the shadow from the light makes it hard to see, but we got the actual X's for the arcs on there, as well as a little tiny nub for where the front arc is to help you set your base. Okay, cat wants to go now. Sorry, I lost my place with the cat. Oh yes, we got the missile tokens done as well, and we've been working on the fighter tokens. I say we, but I mean me. Uh, the fighter tokens have been proving difficult because the fighters are so small and uh, so difficult to print. The wings are where the problem are. The wings and the stabilizers in the back. They, yes, have stabilizers and wings, even though they're in space, but they're both supposed to be atmospheric, as the problem is, for the purposes of close air support and just general precision striking. Also surprise striking, because you can't see over the horizon. I have finished the points for the Decorans and the Andromedans. I actually have a full fleet list currently. I have to update it a little, but I'm also working on the Andromedan fleet currently. The goals for the next month, well, I have the remaining STLs for the third fleet to do, which I can't get past if I can't get past these fighters. So it might be a little longer than I anticipated to finishing the third fleet. It might be until, the end or the middle of June or something like that I get them done. I'm trying to get the Andromedans finished, but when I'm not working on STLs or pictures, I'm generally just not doing much of anything. I haven't even been playing Warhammer 30K, or Horse Heresy, sorry. Just because, one, I'm the odd man out, so I just sit out to let my friends play and have fun, and then I go and I work on the game, which is really a huge draw for me right now, motivation-wise. I haven't done any painting in the last month, save for Conqueror. I'm going to be working on the balance specifically of the ships at this point, where in playtesting, this is a moment where I should say we, but I didn't because I'm confused and confuddled. What can you say? It's just weird. The playtest teams are being assigned specific ships that they have to take in order to determine whether or not they're all right. Good enough is the word we use. We're not going to go for perfectly balanced, because that is impossible, especially when we start adding a 3rd, 4th, 8th, 25th fleet. Some fleets are going to be weaker against others, unfortunately. It's just the nature of the way these sort of games work. Unless you make all ships and ships and fighters practically the same, which we're not going to do, they will be different. I'm also not concentrating on kind of the competitive edge that a lot of the miniatures games currently possess. I don't want that for this game. I just want people to sit down and have fun, and that is all I want. It is what it is. This is why we don't require protractors. You don't even lasers to determine whether or not you are bore-sighted. You could just roughly point the ship at the target and say it's bore sight. It's in the rules. That's the way it is. As for anything else, I'm thinking, trying to think here. There was something else that I didn't write down. See, I wrote a script, but because I didn't write it down, I can't remember it. So I will have to include it next time. All right. Thank you for watching, and happy gaming.